Yo, what's going on, guys? Matt here from DCLblogger.com. Gonna go back to my roots, and I'll be covering Decentraland, investing in virtual land, and all that kind of cool stuff. This post or this video is going to be focusing on Decentraland, although virtual land investing as an NFT and probably into the future, whether NFTs exist or not, will probably be a big thing. So I'll be covering just Decentraland in this one, but please keep note that there's multiple virtual worlds happening at the moment that each do different things. Let's jump in and I'll show you guys just a bit of an overview of Decentraland, some of the other games that are popping up or other platforms, and the mechanics of what has been appreciating virtual land over the last 2 to 3 years, what it looks like, from pulling out some data, pulling out some historical context, and seeing some of the events that happened now. There was recently 146,000 USD sale. I'm trying to figure out what happened there from the buyer's perspective and all that kind of stuff. Let's jump in. So this is Decentraland. You guys have probably been in it before. You've checked it out, you've walked around, and recently there was a sale around this area. So this is Crypto Valley District, and this is kind of where all the companies are located. There's Binance here, there's Matic here, where we're standing at the moment, this red dot, there's Kraken here, which is another big cryptocurrency exchange, and basically a lot of companies have set up shop here. So the land that recently sold was this 45 piece, and it's connected to 2 districts. So this is one district which is called Battlegrounds District, and this is where Ethermont is going to be deployed, and this is Dragon Kingdom, which is the Chinese district, which they're going to be building all kinds of stuff in. So it's all for 146,000 USD, which was 1.25 million mana, which takes the average or land per price per land to about 28,000 mana. And people kind of think of it differently, whether they be accumulating mana, whether they be accumulating Ethereum or BTC or USD. Sometimes you'll see a sale go for 50,000 USD for a place, and you'll be like, oh, that's kind of cheap. But in terms of mana, it was higher because the mana price was different at that time. People want to accumulate mana because they feel like mana is going to go up in value quite a lot, right? So I'm going to be going, we'll backtrack a little bit, and we'll get to this later on. But let's kind of reverse this a bit and check out some reasons. Let's just begin at the start over here. So I'm writing a post, and this post is going to go concurrent with the YouTube video that I'll be posting. Let me just make sure it's recording okay. Yep. All right, so there's multiple virtual worlds. So we know there's Axie Infinity, which are predominantly a game, but you can also buy plots of land where you can kind of keep your pets on there. You can feed them. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can deploy items. And they had a land sale, I think it was last year sometime, where they had a land sale. And they sold land which came with some items, and you could get some mythic items and epic items, and all of them had different scarcities, etc. Their lands you could have gotten for 0.1 Ethereum, the cheapest, all the way up to I think 1 Ethereum being the mystic land, so they're a bit closer to the center. And in time, they've all appreciated in value based on the demand. Axie's gone nuts and people have bought all sorts of stuff. But just to give you an example, there's Axie Infinity, Somnium Space, a virtual reality world where you can go in, you can download Steam and jump in and own land and build on those lands. You've got Crypto Voxels, which is more a voxel based land, Decentraland, which I'll be going through today, Sandbox, which is also kind of voxel based, but kind of like Roblox and Minecraft kind of meshed together. So a little bit of historical context on Decentraland, and now we're looking at a product that is about 2 to 3 years old, although the what you're jumping in and you're kind of experiencing, that's only 8 or 9 months old, 10 months or something. So February that launched, February 20th, I believe. But previous to that, so mid 2017, so Feb 20th, 2020 was when Decentraland launched, in the sense of you could finally go in and walk around. But previous to that, in mid 2017, there was the Decentraland ICO. So that's where Mana was raised as an ICO. $20 million was raised, 68,000 Ethereum at the time. And they were kind of lucky to be running an ICO at a time when it was kind of ICO crazy. People was throwing money everywhere. They were making gains in Ethereum and all the other crypto, and they were taking a bit and throwing it into a new ICO. And Decentraland was kind of born in that environment. So it was very well funded, something very easily done back then. Pretty much every ICO was funded pretty quickly. I think this was sold out within under a minute or something. December 2017. So later on that year, they held their first land auction sale. So there was a massive, kind of like this, what you see here, where there's just these dots everywhere, and you could have put a bid on any land that you want. And most lands sold for about 1,000 mana, right? On the far outskirts, they sold for 1,000 mana. So if we go to land.marketplace, land.decentraland.org, and we check out some of these lands, if we kind of scroll all the way down, you click a random land like this, you can see transaction history 2 years ago. Oh, that was because of the second auction, my bad. So let's kind of try and find something. So yeah, 3 years ago, this was bought for 1,000 mana. So if someone, it was a bidding war, and it was kind of like, it went for 2 weeks, the auction event went for 2 weeks, and if at the end of that 2 weeks, no one outbid you, then you got that land, right? So you can see on the far outskirts, they went for 1,000 mana. The closer you got, so something like this went for, again, 1,000 mana. There wasn't that much demand, but the closer you got to the center, so now we're getting pretty close, you can see 7,500 mana back then, 3 years ago. And then if you get really close and you're actually touching Genesis Center Plaza, 149,000 mana. So there was a lot of competition when the first 3 years ago. There was heaps of competition with land being sold closer to the center. Just to give you a quick breakdown, this is Center Genesis Plaza, which is the green boxes, which are where Decentraland can deploy. They have access to these areas, so these Genesis Plazas, where Decentraland is going to have events and all sorts of things. Purple areas are districts, so this is Crypto Valley District, Dragon Kingdom District, this is Battleground District. Each districts have their own community or individual that's building them. Some are empty because they just haven't been built out. Some of them do have content. It's kind of a mixed bag based on what you want to get. These are roads, so you can see there's some weird squiggly ones. These are single roads, some of them are thicker, so we call them double roads. Land connected double roads are a little bit more expensive than single roads, etc., etc. So a light blue means they are listed. You can join lands. The more lands you have concurrent, you can join them. The more you join, the higher you can build. So you can see some people have joined their lands. Some people have joined their land and put it up for sale. Yeah, there's a value proposition in buying joined lands as opposed to single lands because you can build higher. So that was the case. So the first land auction happened, and $15 million of land was spent. $15 million USD was spent around about that on land. 161 million mana at the time, which was all burnt. And Decentraland had this model where they try and burn mana, which decreases the supply, increases the demand, and therefore the value of mana will increase. Most land sold for 1,000 to 2,000 mana. Some for a lot more, 500,000 mana. Some of them as in the center, as we saw. Jan 2018, crypto bull run ending. So they're very lucky. I have to say, Decentraland had a great idea, yes, but they were also pretty lucky to be born in an ICO frenzy era and also finish off their land auction just before the bull run kind of ended. So Jan 2018, the bull run ended, and people were coming off, the massive, people at 20x their portfolio were coming down and just throwing their money around. That's kind of when I got involved. Not that my portfolio went up that high, but I remember just being like, oh crap, where do I put my money? And then I found Decentraland, and then I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll throw it into some digital land. This kind of seems like a good idea. And so there's a big influx of people coming into Decentraland or trying to buy some land. And back then, this kind of view didn't exist. It was all just kind of messaging people in Discord to try and get some land, right? You couldn't actually transact via a smart contract. So like how you can buy land and how you can go to Uniswap and make a transaction and swap assets, you couldn't do that. You have to manually send someone something. So I had to manually send someone 10,000 mana, and they had to manually send me the lands back. So very risky, but I never got scammed once, which is really surprising. I've done hundreds, possibly thousands of lands OTC like that. So that happened, and then because they call it the Terraform event, the land auction event was finished. The only land you could get was from the secondary market, and people were buying. I was selling them for about 2,000 to 5,000 mana. So people were like, "Whoa, wait a second, I can 2 to 5x my money pretty much straight after I bought them." And it was just so lucky at that time because it had a new influx of people coming in that they were able to exit, and people like me were entering at that time. So people were negotiating prices for all kinds of lands. No one really knew the prices of any of these lands because there was no real maturity of the market. Some people were selling really good lands. I remember buying a land connected to Genesis Plaza for like 5,000 mana, and I sold it for 150,000 mana. I think like a couple months later. It was ridiculous. People didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going on, but because I was buying and selling so much, I had it in my mind, and I was gathering data really quickly. And then March 2018, which is when the marketplace actually launched. So that's when you could actually list your land for sale and then sell them off the marketplace. And that's when there was real price discovery, because then everything was going through a smart contract, not just OTC. And then, you know, websites like Non-Fungible came out, where they started tracking a land sale feed where you could go and just see all the recent sales, what's going on. And people were like, oh, okay, well, that seems to be the average price of this and all that sort of stuff. And you can also see on mydcl. This is a really handy graph where you can see the timeline of sales volume. You can see, so somewhere here, March 19th is when they deployed, March 19th is when they deployed the marketplace, and that's when land started to buy and sell. So you can see the green bars are volume, meaning how many lands were going, parcel count. And then the blue lines are just kind of in manner how much was transacting. So if we kind of do this, you can see a little bit more clearer. So a lot of people buying and selling for the first like week or 10 days, it kind of slowed down, which happens with every pre-sale. Every time there's a marketplace that opens up, there's a frenzy because people want to get in early. Then there's a die down because people realize that, wait a second, it's not as active anymore. And then it kind of goes through this rediscovery period. Right, and then somewhere in, and then here, September 18, there came a massive whale who just pumped like 10 to 15 million mana into Decentraland and bought a ton of land. He pretty much single-handedly pushed the floor from 7,000 mana to 15,000 mana overnight, and it was just like this. I remember looking at it and being like, holy crap, you can see like the parcels sold. So 210 parcels were sold on this day, and I'm pretty sure they were all just single pieces that were just bought up the floor. And it was crazy. Like that kicked off permanently this whole, like, look at this, like this event that happened. We call that whale Nessie out of fun, but Nessie came in and did his thing, and then we all, after that, it was just crazy. Like people continued to buy land, and that kind of kicked off the whole thing again, restarted the whole market again. Then there was the second auction, which bought about 112 million mana. Yeah, 112 million mana was sold, worth of land was sold. About 10 million USD. 10,000 mana parcel count. Okay. Oh, sorry, 9,500 lands were sold approximately at that time. And then we kind of keep going, and then yes, since then it's been relatively a healthy market where you see these spikes of volume, then you kind of slow down, a spike of volume, a slow down. Now we're kind of going through a reset period where this year, so this whole year since like Jan, Bitcoin's been on a massive move upwards, and people have put their attention to Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it's slowed down a little bit. But it's also been the time, so Feb 20th is also when Decentraland launched, and now they've been building, and for the first 6 months of Decentraland launch, it's pretty buggy, wasn't much content, and then last quarter they deployed a ton of companies like Binance and Matic, etc. And now there's been a lot more interest in terms of projects wanting to be deployed there, and people, it becoming a product where people can actually go there and have, an experience that isn't that buggy and can talk. And now they're slowly rolling out features. But how did this affect the market? So what I did in my post is I kind of broke down what makes land valuable and multiple things, and let's just kind of go through them. What I personally normally do is I'll just go over here and sort this by the cheapest land and be like, all right, well, what's the cheapest land for today? And it'll say 8,000 mana. I'll be like, all right, well, looks like 8 to 10,000 mana is the cheapest land. Just kind of explore this and see, well, what's the cheapest land connected to a road? So this one's almost the far outskirts. So here's a land that's on the far outskirts. Usually these go for a little bit more because it's on the edge. It's because it's more scarce. You can see this land is pretty good. It's connected to, I might buy this actually. It's in this area, which I'll talk about a bit later. Anyway, you can see as you keep going searching, you'll see like some lands connected to roads, and you'll see the price around that area. And you can match it up to nonfungible.com, which shows you the lands that are sold in these areas. So, okay, there's a land here sold connected to A road. This is actually a really good land. It was only sold for 1 Ethereum, which is really cheap. Here's a land that was sold for 12,600 mana, close connected to a road. So a little bit more than the 7,000 or 8,000 mana that we saw at floor price because it's connected to a single road. And anyway, you can kind of do your research that way. But back to my post. This is a few different factors that are involved in making a decision when buying and selling land, right? Or what makes land valuable. Again, with nonfungible.com, there's been about 30 million USD that has been spent on land over the last 2 to 3 years. So it's a pretty decent market. It's still relatively young. I mean, it's not hundreds of millions, but it still has some legs, right? And that's just the single lands. if you look at the estate, so if I go to estate, so what was that? 30 million. And we add that to 7.6 million, which is the estate. So the bulk land, so 38 million-ish USD has been spent on virtual land. Isn't that crazy? All right. So that being said, with that volume, so multiple things that are in play here. So speculation. I mean, obviously, people are buying based on, at least for the first year or two of Decentraland, where it wasn't even public, where you couldn't even go in and experience what it was. People were buying plots of land based on where they thought was kind of going to be a good area or a hot area. So they were buying near certain districts. They were buying, closer to the center. Some were buying in certain areas on the edges. People had weird ways of speculating what they wanted to invest in. But generally speaking, lands connected to roads were going up in value a little bit more than the lands connected to the outskirts. And here's a little image that I've put dots next to certain areas. And this area here is on the far left. Right here in this pocket. And in this pocket, we've seen weird things happen because it's in this area where we've got Fashion Street and we have District X. And then we have, I think this is Business Marketplace or something. But anyway, it's this little pocket. We've had land sell from 30 to 65,000 mana being connected to either a district or land. Some between 20, so we'll say 20 to 65,000 mana. It's been crazy. This kind of area here has demanded a little bit more of a premium. I saw land here recently for 20 to 25,000 mana piece, I believe, connected to the lands, the roads and the districts. So obviously it's a lot more than 8,000 mana. And I recently sold it like, if you click on this, yeah, I sold it, my name Neo, 5 days ago. Sold it 5 days ago, 119,000 mana. Looks like he's joined the estates. So it was 119,000 mana for, I think, 6 parcels, and then he's kind of joined that with the rest of them. So although it doesn't show, it wasn't 27 parcels, it doesn't really show that accurately. What does kind of show it, maybe if we go here, check this out. Here we go. So you can see these estates here, 240,000 mana. So yeah, 119,000 mana. You can see only 6 of them were sold. So 20,000 mana a piece was sold, and it was premium, or at least more than 8,000 mana being the floor, because it's in this little pocket, right? So if you just break this image down, you can see there's lands here which are connected to districts directly, which are obviously going to be more than lands that are not connected to anything. And then we got lands here. Oh, each land is a pixel, by the way, and each pixel is 16 by 16 meters in the world of Decentraland. So if you're exploring Decentraland, and you could look at the map on the top left, that map, and walk around, and you can kind of see me move parcel to parcel. So this is, looks like they built a road here, but yeah, this is about a parcel here. It's kind of hard to configure, but it's pretty small, to be honest. You really get value when you combine parcels. So most people have at least a 2x2. So that being said, so yeah, so lands connected to the single roads, they demand a bit higher price. Our lands connected to a double road, lands that are bordered by 2 roads. So this land has 2 roads bordering it. These lands are also closer to the center. I believe the center is over here somewhere. These lands are connected to a single road, a district, and in this pocket. So there's multiple things that contribute to the price of land. And then, so you know, previous to February 20th, 2020, before we went public, or before there was a place you can jump in and check out, there was this whole concept of just buying based off this. So people just buying pixels based off speculating which areas were going to be expensive and of value. And because there were so many people doing it, it kind of validated the market, and there was like millions and millions of dollars worth of money being spent here. No one was earning money doing this at all, apart unless you were kind of buying and selling land, right? So that being said, that's what happened. And then again, when we went public sometime, people started to, deploy land. And I think what eventually happened is that neighborhoods started to form. So neighborhoods are basically areas that started to have a little bit more happening. And again, going back to Crypto Valley, you can see here, Ethermon was going to get deployed up here. This is the land that sold recently for 146,000 USD. Dragon Kingdom, Crypto Valley. If we zoom into Crypto Valley in a 3D view, you can see all of these companies deployed here. We've got Binance here, Kraken was deployed here. Conference center where we hold conferences. Again, Binance, Kraken over here. GDA Capital, all this stuff. So all of this was in this area. This is the land that recently sold. You can see it's connected to a double road. It's connected to this purple district, Dragon City. It's connected to Dragon Kingdom. It's connected to Ethermon, which is going to be a massive MMO that's going to be starting soon. That's under development, sorry. Binance, Kraken. It's kind of in the midst of all this stuff happening. So it's got the neighborhood, it's got the double roads, it's got the district connections, and it sold for 28,000 mana a piece, which is around 30,000 mana a piece. It's not cheap, but it's definitely a good area to warrant that kind of a price. Because historically speaking, lands connected to double roads alone have gone for 20,000 mana, let alone lands connected to a double roads, 2 districts, and close to all this activity in neighborhood. And as an estate, you can see like large areas like this they're not common, especially near, hot areas. So if you go to Crypto Valley, you're not going to really find any that are this big. You can see this is the one that just sold. Apart from that, you don't have anything that's like a nice 25 piece if you want to deploy something pretty big. Can't really find anything. Maybe, nothing here. You got this big one. This one's not for sale. I don't know why it's showing for sale. Yeah, there's not really that much if you want to do that. These red ones, see, I still have these parcels. So these are mine still that are here. This 146k was my one that sold. And I have, all these lands still available. So it's actually one massive estate. I chopped it up in half and that sold, and now I've got all of these left. So that's that. So, people ask, why would someone spend that much money? Well, one, because it's a speculator's market. So because it's had $30 to $38 million worth of land people have bought and sold, people think that as more people come and want to buy land, the land that they get will attract a higher price. But some people that are actually creating experiences, for example, MetaZone has come out and sold 3 million mana worth of generated content. So users have created content and put it up for sale on MetaZone, where you can buy, 266 left out of 619, 250 mana to buy. And then you can buy this and deploy it on your land, and it's going to be an NFT. So MetaZone is a business that's generated 3 million mana, which is what, 300,000 USD currently. And I mean, if they spend $50,000 to $60,000 kind of displaying all their products for sale, it'll be totally worth it for them, right? And if Decentraland continues to grow, then that's a business model that has generated, like, I've probably spent about 30 to 50,000 mana in just buying content and deploying it on my land. A lot of these people are community members that have created this land, and so they take a cut, they give a cut. It's all kinds of cool stuff you can get, and even an arcade, you get some pool tables, you can get like some different grass, you get a building that you want, what's this for? 1,200 mana, so $120, I believe. This. Images, chessboards, all kinds of stuff. Pool table, right? A karaoke bar. All this kind of stuff you can deploy. Hoverboard park, cool stuff. So, and all I'm saying is MetaZone is one of the many businesses. We also have Decentraland Games, which is a casino. I think it's done millions of dollars worth of revenue in the casino games. They have their own token, DG token. It makes sense for them to pay if they were able to increase that in value. And also, I think galleries are a massive use case for Decentraland. Some massive whales that have funds that have come together and literally poured millions of dollars worth of have bought millions of dollars worth of art. So there's some people that I know that have spent between $2 to $5 million worth of art, funds and larger organizations, and it totally makes sense for them to buy like a land for 150k, build a gallery, display, hold events, just like how you have real galleries in the real world, what they do is they display, they hold events, and the prices go up because if you have a gallery and you accumulate art, you signal to the rest of your world that you are now the buyer of this specific art. And as your gallery and your brand, the gallery's brand increases in value, and they kind of get known to be a curated, a platform, a prestigious place to be, they can kind of dictate the market in a way. They can buy art, put it in their gallery, and then everyone's like, oh, so-and-so art is really good because it's in their gallery. One of the many signals that they do in the virtual world that I've seen done. So, you know, I would totally buy some land. I have some land here. In fact, I've broken down, there's an estate that will be launched soon, which have about 15 to 16 collectors, all come together, bought little parts, and will be building their own galleries and displaying their own art. And it makes sense for us to do that because, one, we can display the art of the people that we've collected and tweet it out and get people to jump in and check it out, and it increases the value of our art because, you know, certain popular people purchase art and it increases the value of that art. It's a weird mechanic that I'm starting to see happen. So how do you kind of make a buying decision here? You know, I think it starts with getting a good price, and it starts with doing two things. One, being in the community and knowing what's going on. And that means joining the Discord. So for example, in my Discord over here, if we go here, then we go to Decentraland sales, you can check out all the sales that have happened, and you can see the sales feed here that pings us every time there's a land sale. So this one sold for 90,000 mana. We can kind of jump in and check it out. And as you do this, you kind of get an idea of what sells for what. So this one sold for 45,000 mana, just a single parcel connected to a double road. This one's for 15,000 mana. So we kind of check out, okay, well, these districts are getting that price. And we see these happen more often. So 15,900 mana for this one. 21,000 mana for this one on the far outskirts. This one, it says DCL blogger, but it's not mine. The guy that sold it didn't change the name. So it's a 4-piece that sold for 30,000 mana, I think 7,500 mana a piece. And you know, you get an idea and a vibe as to what things sell for. So I would highly advise joining like a Discord, my Discord. I'll put the link in the description. But you know, you kind of get an idea of what's going on when you just follow the sales feed. That's one thing. Then I would also advise jumping in the Decentraland land trading channel, and you kind of see people buying and selling land. People are selling land. You can jump in and negotiate with them. Maybe do a better deal. Never thought it would go this low. You know, you can jump in and give them a better price. Maybe you can negotiate with them, and it starts with a good entry price. Or at least you can connect to them with them. So you can see this guy's trying to sell his land, where he's got all these red pieces that are connected to a Genesis Plaza. So they're actually quite rare. Another thing you have to keep in mind is also the fact that, you know, mana's on the move. Like some mana's currently gone to 9 to 10 cents. There was a time like a few days ago where it hit 14 cents. 7 days ago, so usually hit 15 cents. So it hit 15 cents. So people, you know, a part of these guys are just like, oh man, I really wish I had my money in mana. So there's this weird balance at play. Some people want land and people want mana. As prices go up in mana, sometimes people sell their land cheaper in mana, but in terms of USD it goes higher and all that sort of stuff. So there's multiple mechanics to kind of keep in mind of. So that we went through the neighborhood, being a part of the value. So utility as well. So again, why people are buying land. Galleries are a big use case. You know, it makes sense for companies, especially like Binance and Kraken, them coming in and building a presence. It makes sense for them to do that because they get billions of dollars worth of volume. They're probably a $1 billion revenue generating company. And for them to keep on top of trends, they have a budget dedicated to people that kind of continue to integrate them into community, because for them, a strong community means that people will continue to use their products. So people build on Decentraland, and I'm starting to feel like as this price is increasing Decentraland, it's going to start becoming like a very corporate commercial area where people buy projects and buy and build projects that they want to signal that, hey, that we're part of the community, this is what we're doing, and start to, you know, engage with the NFT/crypto crowd in a new way. Because being virtual, being on blockchain, eventually being virtual reality, doing all these cool things is kind of like at the forefront of tech. And as a company, you want to be seen as someone that stays relevant. So bigger companies, it totally makes sense to do that. And yeah, check the lowest prices. And OpenSea as well is a really good place to kind of check the health of things. So every time I go to OpenSea, I check the rankings and I see the 7-day volume, and I make sure, like, for like the last 2 to 3 years, Decentraland has had between 100 and 300 Ethereum 7-day volume, which for me signals a healthy market. If it's less than that, I start to panic, because if I want to sell my land for like 100 Ethereum, it's hard to do that because there's no one there that are buying it, right? If suddenly the volume is, 2 Ethereum per week, then how am I going to sell a 50 Ethereum land if there's not that much, the buyers of that quantity aren't there? So that's one thing to keep in mind. Also, total volume, so Decentraland has done about 26,000 Ethereum worth of volume. Owners as well, so the more owners you have of this land, the more spread of investors you have, which is always good. The more owners, the more spread, the more healthier and kind of broader the community is. So those are a few of the things that have contributed to value. One being positioned aesthetically in a place that's connected to different areas. Double rows have usually warranted between 20 and 40,000 mana, connected to certain districts. So anything connected to Crypto Valley seems to be very, very expensive. It's really hard to get anything connected to there because it has all these projects to be deployed. But I think as these other projects start to get more and more built out, and people maybe in a year or two, when different areas start to get more and more popular, I think they will start to warrant a higher price. So for me, my bet is on certain areas which I think will go up in value, which is why I have these areas here. I know I'm building an area here about with galleries and stuff, so we're going to have some pretty prominent collectors in this area that are building out their galleries. So when I invest, I kind of have a very holistic approach, where when I invest, I don't just like leave it there. I run events, I run conferences, I help build it, I blog about it, I bring in any partnerships to Decentraland that come my way, I'll get them in there and provide some value to the ecosystem, so that the ecosystem grows, and so my investment would grow. It's not really one of those things like in cryptocurrency where you can just throw your money at and leave, right? So there's some words. Hopefully that's encouraged you to kind of look a little bit deeper and gave a bit more clarity as to what to look for. But yeah, lands have been going up and down. I can't say they've been going only up, but I think that certain areas and certain lands that you think what's going to happen around you, like this area here, as that increases, then the lands there get more attention, get more scarce, and people want to get them more. So join the community, make sure you look at the data and the recent sales and keep on top of like what's selling where and what's going on, and you'll kind of get the gist of what's worth what, but it's definitely going to take you some time. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed this.